Hello, and welcome to the National Museum of the Pacific War and the next segment of the Nimitz Minitz. My name is Bryan Degner, the Education Outreach Coordinator here at the museum, and the title of today's program is The Jeep, one of the most iconic vehicles of World War II. During World War I, the main mode of transportation for men and equipment was the horse, but motorized vehicles such as cars and trucks and motorcycles were used for the very first time in warfare. And it didn't go unrecognized. The United States military saw the importance of replacing the horse with motorized transportation, but change would be slow until the growing conflict in Europe and Asia got things moving. In 1940, the United States Army Quartermaster's Corps sent out 135 invitations to American automobile manufacturers soliciting bids for a small, lightweight, 4x4 command reconnaissance vehicle that could carry a crew of 3, a light machine gun, and a windshield that would fold down. There was a catch. Those interested would only have 49 days to design and build a working prototype. Now, the Bantam Car Company was the only one to meet the deadline, and their design, called the Blitz Buggy, exceeded the Army's expectations. The Army, though, feared that this small company would not have the capability to produce enough of these vehicles, so the Army, shared the Bantam plans with Willys Overland and the Ford Motor Companies. Now, the Willys Overland Company won the bid because of their 4-cylinder, 60 horsepower Go Devil engine. And Willys allowed Ford to manufacture their design in order to produce the large number of quarter-ton general-purpose vehicles that the military was going to need. Now, this vehicle, it will eventually become known around the world as the Jeep. This almost indestructible, go-anywhere and do-anything vehicle did more than it was designed for during World War II. I could go on for hours on all the different things the Jeep was able to do during the war. I'm just going to mention a few. They carried the wounded. They could be outfitted to run on tracks and pull boxcars. Some were even used to move airplanes on board aircraft carriers. And I can tell you there were probably many an officer who laid a map out on the hood of the Jeep, or a GI that ate his dinner or K-ration off the hood of a Jeep. And there were surgeries conducted on the hood of these Jeeps. They could warm water. They could heat up someone's food. They could do so many different things. Now, the Jeep served in all theaters of operation during World War II, and troops that were lucky enough to be issued one often grew very attached to them. They had names for them, and they took very good care of their Jeeps. And you don't dare take another man's Jeep. Now, everyone seems to have stories about Jeeps. They have stories about Jeeps today. There were stories about Jeeps from World War II, and I'm going to share a couple of them with you now. There was one Jeep named Old Faithful who served on Guadalcanal and Bougainville. On Guadalcanal, it received 2 shrapnel wounds from a Japanese artillery shell. And the troops that were assigned to that Jeep were so attached to it that they awarded it with an honorary Purple Heart. Admiral Nimitz himself even rode in that Jeep at one point. And then there's another story about a couple of American war correspondents who were trying to get away from the Japanese. And to escape, they used a Jeep. They drove 1,300 miles from Burma to India. Now, they arrived safely there in India. And then someone began to question them about their journey and even made the comment that, how could you do that? Where you went, roads don't even exist. And the two war correspondents, their reply was, shh. Don't tell the Jeep about roads. They don't know about them yet, and we don't want to spoil it. As World War II was coming to an end, the Willys Overland Company realized that they could market a civilian Jeep here in the United States. They saw how popular they had become during all theaters operation there in World War II. So in 1945, they began to manufacture their first civilian Jeep here in the United States. Now, they ran into a little problem. Willys wanted to use the stamped metal 9 vertical slot grille that the Ford company had designed, and Willys wanted to use that design on their civilian Jeeps, but they couldn't because Ford had a patent on it. So what the Willys company did was they redesigned that front grille. Instead of 9 vertical slots, they went with 7. And today, that is one of those iconic symbols of the Jeep, the 7-slot vertical grille. Jeep lovers and Jeeples around the world will probably agree with this quote from war correspondent Ernie Pyle, who said, "I don't believe we can continue the war without the Jeep. It does everything. It goes everywhere. It's as faithful as a dog, stronger than a mule, and as agile as a goat." Thank you for being with us for this segment of the Nimitz Minutes. And we hope you'll tune in next time for the next segment of the Nimitz Minute. Let's move out.